Hello everyone, this is Tony. Welcome back to Trophy Food Experiences. Today I'm actually doing a video on sake, which is obviously not food, but a beverage. So sake is a Japanese beverage. It's a Japanese rice wine, and it's basically made by fermenting rice. They have to polish the bran off the rice. Although it's called rice wine, the process is much like beer. So with wine, the grapes give you the residual sugars so that can be fermented. With sake, it's the rice and kind of like the same type of grains that beer would have. The only difference with beer is I think beer is a two-step process, which the starch is turned to sugar and then the sugar is fermented, whereas with rice, with sake, it's all one process. What that does is it basically makes it a bit stronger. So beer is usually under 10%, wine is about 13 to 15%, and then sake is a little bit higher, so somewhere between 15 to 20%. But many people enjoy sake because it is, I don't know, it goes well with Japanese food, I don't know. And I recall that when we first, many years ago when I started drinking sake, it was very popular to drink hot sake. But now it seems like the trend is now we're getting more knowledgeable, and so now the trend is to drink cold sake. You can still drink hot sake, but I find that now more people drink cold sake, and that's more appreciated as a delicacy or a higher end sake. So it's kind of I guess people just think, well, hot sake, if it's so hot you can't really taste the flavors or smell the aromas. Sake can be a bit difficult to understand, especially if you don't understand the Japanese language, and I don't profess to be a sake expert, but I'm going to kind of give you the basics. So the sake is basically made, the different levels of sake are distinguished by a couple of factors. One is the amount of bran that's polished off the rice or the rice kernel. So the rice kernel, or whatever it's called, is basically polished. So I guess if you've ever had seen raw rice, it's got a kind of a bran on top, and of course that'd be bitter, and that's why when you make rice you kind of wash it to try and get off some of that bran. Well, sake is the same way. I guess the more that you wash off the bran and polish it, the clearer or the flavor should be. So there's different levels. So let's start at the top. The top is going to be Daiginjō, which is that means it must be polished to at least 50% of the grain size. So in general, the more you polish, the more pure the flavor of the rice, the sweeter it will be, but also the more expensive, because if you keep on polishing it, then you'll need more grains of rice to make the sake. Then the next level is going to be, and that's in order for a sake to say it's Daiginjō, it's going to be 50%. It must be at least 50% has been polished. The next one is Ginjō, and that is 60%. And then the next is Tokubetsu, which is 70%. So again, you would think the sweetest and the most expensive would be the Daiginjō. Also, you'll see sometimes the word Junmai, and Junmai is basically the translated means just rice and water, so it's pure. So that means with those labels that say Junmai, that means that it's only rice and water is being used in the fermentation process. If they don't have those words Junmai, then that means they might have added a little bit of alcohol. And what that does when you add alcohol, additional alcohol, it cleans up and lightens up the sake. So in general, Junmai, whatever level, sake will be a little bit more intense, but the aroma won't be as much, whereas those that are not labeled Junmai will be much more aromatic, much more fruity, but the taste will not be as intense. And some people might prefer that because they're like, wow, it's so aromatic. And they might want to not have as intense a flavor, but that's just kind of a personal preference thing. The other kind of thing I wanted to do in particular with this video is open up the concept of this Nigori sake, which is a fairly new concept to me. So with Nigori sake is basically cloudy sake. And I've never actually heard about this, but I had it the first time in a restaurant, so now I'm kind of hooked on it. What that means is when you normally make sake with rice, when they do the fermentation process, they don't keep the rice kernels. So you have clear liquid, it's clear. But with Nigori sake, what happens is they sometimes pass the rice through a loose mesh, and that doesn't get all of the particles. So what happens is that it's not filtered as much, and therefore there is sediment and it becomes cloudy, and you'll see it. It's for those who drink clear sake, they say, what's wrong? But what happens is it actually makes it more, in my mind, a little bit more creamier and a little bit more full-bodied. And actually, if you were blinding it, other than the aesthetics of the color, is actually I actually prefer it. And the actual taste of it is, to me, a little bit softer, a little bit creamier, and a little bit more rounded than regular sake. So this is kind of a new thing for me. Let's take a look at these two bottles in detail. So this one is Decipher 45. You'll see it's got an expiry date. It's just fresh. And then you'll see it's Decipher 45. It is Junmai Daiginjō sake. So again, Junmai means just water and rice. Daiginjō is a polish amount, so it's under 50%. In this case, it's 45% of the kernel left, 13.5%. There's a half bottle. And the only difference between this and the regular is this word Nigori, which means cloudy. And you'll see on the actual thing, it is cloudy. Not that cloudy, but not clear. So I guess as long as you're getting used to it, it's you just had to know that, right? And this is the Momokawa. This is made, again, you'll see it, Junmai. Again, that means only water and rice is used. No extra spirits are used. Ginjō, which is it's polished down to less than 60% of the rice kernel, and then Nigori, creamy or cloudy, and a little bit of, it's called pearl, and you'll see it's made from Oregon, and the alcohol content is 14.8%. This is the actual, let me move this a bit, color. And again, it gets a little bit, you have to get used to it. It's got some sediment, like you can see it. So it's not there's more of it because it's, it hasn't been polished down as much. So more of it has been more particles have went through the mesh, and consequently the color is almost like milk. And so again, you have to get used to it, and people, as long as they can get used to it, is actually in my mind, for those people who are not big drinkers, it's actually a creamier and easier to drink sake than regular sake. So today I'm going to do a tasting of two Nigori sakes, or cloudy sakes, that I've recently purchased. And I'll close up on the bottle of them. And you'll see they're not clear. So for some people that might be off-putting, and this one also almost looks like it's milk. So the one on this side is the Decipher 45 Nigori. And so this one, I think people are pretty familiar with the Decipher 45, the regular, like the clear. This is just the, on the label, the only difference is Nigori. So again, it's polished down to 45% of the rice kernel left. So it's a good product, and the alcohol content is 13.5%. The other one is an interesting one called Momokawa Pearl. And so, and this one is, you'll see on the back of the label, it's Junmai Daiginjō sake, so that means it is less than 50% in terms of the grain of the rice kernel left, and Junmai means it's only used the water and the rice. No other alcohol has been added, so it's pure form, I guess. The next one is the Momokawa Pearl, and this is a Junmai Ginjō Nigori sake. So Ginjō means that it's been polished down to 60%. It's still Junmai, so that means it is only used in the fermentation process, rice and water. Nothing else has been added. But the interesting about this is made by Oregon, I guess Sake One, which is a winery or a brewery in Oregon. So it is, I think, the first one in, I guess, the States that does this. So, and yeah, it's 14.8%, and it says on the bottle that it's been polished down to the grain. The rice grain has been polished down to 58%. So, and I'll have the pricing in the comment section, but it's not any more. I think the decipher is not any more than the regular decipher, I don't think. So it's not like ridiculously priced. So you'll see there's a big difference in color already. Both of them are cloudy. This one is almost like milk, evaporated milk type color. So it can be a little off-putting because it's like, well, is it dirty? No, it's not. And the other thing is that you should shake it and turn it before you open and pour the bottle, and it should be served cold. So on the aroma, and again, I'm not an expert in sake, but it is got some floral, some really fruity elements, some peaches, some plums and things like that. So a really fruity aroma and very fresh aroma. It's got a good acidity, really easy to drink, really smooth. It doesn't have a bite. It goes down very, very smooth. And that's what I liked about Nigori sakes. They seem a little bit lighter. You don't feel the alcohol content as much. And it's just creamier along the mouth. It's really easy drinking. And I actually like it quite a lot, other than the color. You have to get used to the cloudiness of the sake. And it's got a lot of kind of fruity elements. I almost want to say like plums. And again, I'm not a sake expert, but it is very fruity on the aftertaste, and the aftertaste is not alcoholic at all. It's very smooth and creamy. Let's go to the Momokawa. So just comparing the two, this one obviously, because it's not filtered as much, you get a bit more roughness in the mouth. You feel it a little bit more, or maybe that's just me. And I guess for me, the intensity of flavor is higher, but it's more alcoholic than the Sai 45. By itself, you wouldn't notice it, but I mean, tasting side to side, you can see it's a little rougher and it's a little bit more alcoholic, not as smooth, but still very easy to drink and very creamy. This is the nice thing about Nigori sakes. Yeah, you don't get as much of the fruitiness in the aftertaste. It's a little bit more muted, and then the alcohol comes out a little bit more. And it is more alcoholic, it's 14.8%. Hope you've enjoyed this review and this video. If you do, please like, subscribe, and then keep watching, and just let me know any comments. Until next time, happy eating.